In this video, I'm going to introduce to you solving quadratic equations, our chapter 9. But in this part of chapter 9, we are specifically going to do the graphing of those quadratic equations. And so what I want to start with first is just kind of the vocabulary of the unit so that the words that I use are understandable to you and they make sense to you as we talk through them. And so first what I want to do is introduce what a quadratic function is. And so I'll put that here, a quadratic. A quadratic function is a function that can be written in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. And it's important that you note that a quadratic has to have an x squared term because that's what makes it quadratic. It may or may not have a linear term, and it may or may not have a constant term, meaning a number term. So if you only see an x squared, it still classifies as quadratic because it's a power of 2 for the highest power of x. Okay, now number 2. The simplest quadratic function is exactly what I just wrote. It would just be y equals x squared, and it is called the quadratic parent function. And now every quadratic function has a U-shaped graph, and the name that we use for that is a parabola. And the leading coefficient of your parabola, if it is a positive number, then the parabola will open up, so it will look like this. And if that lead coefficient in front of your x squared term, so a number in front of that, if it is negative, then it will open down. So it will look something like this. Now, the blank is the lowest point of the parabola if it opens up, and I'm going to call this the vertex. The vertex is the lowest point, and we also call that a minimum. So if this is our picture, the lowest point on that graph is what is called also the minimum of your parabola. And then likewise, but exactly opposite, if you have a parabola that opens upside down, the vertex is called a maximum. Because your picture will open down, there will be a highest point. So the max it can reach height-wise, kind of like when you throw a ball in the air, it will reach a max height and then it will come back down to earth. So something similar to that. Now we have a couple more vocabulary phrases here. Number 6 is that the line passing through the vertex that divides the parabola into two symmetrical parts, this vertical line, is called the Axis of Symmetry. Sometimes we abbreviate A.O.S. So Axis of Symmetry. And so if you see that phrase, that's what that means. It's a line that cuts your parabola right in half. So I'll kind of draw an example here. So your parabola will equally reflect on the right side and the left side your axis of symmetry. So it cuts your parabola in half. And then for the last sentence here, solutions of a quadratic are also called by other names, and those names would be x-intercepts, or roots, or zeros. So those would be the phrases that you might see for parabola. Now before I get into the parts of the parabola down here, I just wanted to make sure that we touch base on the vocabulary that we have for the unit, just so that the words that I use will hopefully make sense. And in the next video, we're going to do some practice with the vocabulary.